Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 46 of Competitive Magic with the Carnies. I'm your host from Italy, Andrea Mengucci, and joining me as always, we have Javier Dominguez from Spain.
Hello, everyone.
And Anthony Lee from Australia.
Hola.
Welcome, everyone. And we had a nice podcast last week. A lot of people enjoyed it. We got a lot of good feedback, obviously, with Simon Nielsen blessing us with his presence. He had his energy. And also, of course, with the rest of the Carnies, two PT Top haters. It was a great episode. Can we keep up with this one, you think?
We'll try, It's hard, but we will try a little bit.
Yeah, no, for sure. But no, it's been a great episode. Remembering all the cool things that happened 2 weeks ago. At this point, it was like three weeks ago. Javier, did you lost all your power this weekend? I heard.
Yeah. So I mean, something happened this weekend. I played my usual Magic Online events or whatever, Magic Arena, and turns out I did not win too much. I think I won like 3 games or something like this in the whole weekend combined. So I will say yes, I did lose my powers. I won 0-2 in the Mox Modern. I played... I don't remember what I played. But I played John. Yeah,
okay,
I played John. I played the qualifier with Grisfang. And I played the Pioneer Mox, I think also with Grisfang, maybe with Strike. I don't even remember at this point. Yeah, I think Grisfang as well. I just I actually tweeted. Yeah, I tweeted, and I tweeted just in case because there's like this. We have spoken about this a little bit in the podcast, but like when you're there playing your Arena Open or whatever, and you bust like 4 tries, and you have in your timeline is just only people saying doing well or whatever, and I just posted just in case, like, someone will feel that, will feel better or something. I just got a lot of answers of people being like, "Hey, it's very cool that you posted," or whatever. I didn't expect it, but yeah, I posted it because I felt like, because sometimes you make a top 8 and then you go like back to back top 8s, and it can be for some people like, I feel like some players can feel, because I felt like this in the past, like, wow, these players are just winning every time. How do they do it? And reality is, no one wins most of the time. Like, even if you are like having a hot streak or whatever, you're gonna have weekends like this where you go 0-2, 0-2, 0-2, and that's fine. Of course, the more you prepare, the less likely it is to happen, but it's still going to happen. And so, yeah, I mean, that was my weekend. I got some time to relax after wars and fight a draft and then play some Baldur's Gate. That's that's the upside of having so many 0-2 drops. But yeah, I mean, still Magic, part of the game, and even if you try a lot, those are still going to happen. It's not like I suddenly forgot how to play. I mean, obviously I have not been playing Pioneer much, but I had played a lot of Modern, but you can still 0-2. It's just part of life, part of Magic the Gathering. So yeah, that's what happened.
What about you? What about you, Anthony? Did you play some Magic this weekend?
Yeah, I played the Lord of the Rings Store Championships, so I assume those are happening all around the world at the same time. The tournaments for the Saruman of many colors, and I split the finals. It was nice because the prizes were quite good. There was a Saruman. There were 2 of the Japanese promo Tamagotchis. I don't know if you've seen those.
Yeah.
Those ones and a bunch of stalkers. I don't know. That was okay. So
did you also get the Eidolon of Grey Rebel?
Yeah, that one too. Yeah. So that was okay. And I say okay, I'm not good because playing Tron was physically painful that tournament. I don't know, like, it didn't affect me that much during the Pro Tour, but I mulliganed so much that by the finals, my wrist really hurt. Like, it was actually painful. So I was like, look, if we don't split the finals, I'm gonna have to ask the judge to shuffle my deck for me because I don't think I can continue anymore. I can just mulligan line. I think also because like a lot of my rounds went to times there was no break in between. But yeah, I found Modern physically painful to go through, which is something I'm sure you can agree with, guys. It really hurts.
I was surprised to see a lot of Tron players also at the PT going long. Like, the deck is actually much slower than even the games in the top 8 of Tron were very, very much slower than what we used to remember.
Yeah, definitely. That's
and with
that's just true
the
now.
ring
Yes.
and Karn. Yeah, it's different. But I wanted to ask, what about you, Javier? Why did you choose to switch from Tron to John for the weekend?
Honestly, I got tricked by Nate.
Knew it. He's a trickster.
I kind of wanted to play Tron, and he was like, "Yeah, maybe let's play another deck, Rhinos or whatever." And I didn't want to play Rhinos, so I tricked him into playing Jan. And I played Jan in some problems, and I thought it was fun and good. So I thought it was like a good deck for the weekend. But I mean, I maybe should have played Tron, but I mean, I don't know. I think Jan was a fine deck to play. Some obviously there were some Jan decks doing well in the tournament. I also lost like a mirror as well, which obviously like you're going to lose mirrors. That never means your deck was a wrong deck to play. You just lost a mirror, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think I lost against mirror against a hammer deck where I just draw like 6 lands in a row or something at some point. So yeah, I actually don't regret playing Junt. I have played some prelim with Tron afterwards, and I actually think Junt is probably better than Tron nowadays. So not only I played Junt, but I think it might be an acceptable deck going forward. The issue with like last prelim I played with Tron is like I played against a lot of 4/4 Charmog guy, the dragon, the 4/4 flying.
The Obsidian Charmer, yeah.
Yeah, Obsidian Charmer. I'm very bad with names. Sorry. I played against like a lot of copies of these cards, like a lot of hate. I don't know. I think Tron was great in the PT because hate was not very high. But as long as hate is high, I don't think Tron is particularly good to play. I might still play here and
Yeah.
there, but like I don't think the deck is. I think it's gonna take so long before it becomes as good as it was in the PT. Like it could take like half a year or something. Like
Next Pro Tour, at the next Pro Tour, probably.
could be. But like I'm saying
Are,
is you see sideboards now and you see sideboards before the Pro Tour, and the amount of hate is not. They're not the same. Like this is not the same thing.
uh,
You see like Alpine Moons
yeah,
here or whatever. You know, like
I remember seeing a post saying how like the peak of Tron performance were always during PT. PT London, I believe Tron was a good choice. Then PT Ogak was won by Tron, and now PT Barcelona with three Tron in the top eight. And in the meanwhile, people always underwhelmed the power of Tron. So it's kind of weird, like it's cool,
Well,
but at the same time,
is it though? Like
there's a
it's
couple of reasons I think.
Yeah.
Like,
Go ahead.
I think for a start, Tron having a reputation for being a very simple deck or easy deck to play means that it will attract a lot of players that are less invested or not as good, specifically, and I think that caused it to underperform outside of the top level of play. Because I think the deck, I mean, like I was always in to join in on the memes about Tron being the easiest deck ever or whatever, but it just wasn't true, which I knew because I had played Tron in some events, and then I found myself like going to time because I was thinking for so long on things that seemed like they would be simple. Like, I was like, okay, I have Tron, so I should just win now, right? And it's like, no, I have like a bunch of answers in my hand. Like, if I waste my win conditions, I am very likely to lose unless I top deck another one because you've got a lot of air in your decks. So the deck was never as easy as people thought. And I think every deck that has a reputation for being easy, more so than it actually is, tends to get dragged down in lower level tournaments. It's not just true. That's not just true for Tron and Mod. It's also true for decks like Mono Green in Pioneer, where a lot of people are like, haha, it's so easy. You just play like Mana Dogs and the old Growth Trolls and attack or whatever, and it's that's very far from the truth. So I think there's that, and I think the type of metagames that you see at the Pro Tours are also a lot more condensed than the ones outside, specifically for Modern. So you're a lot more likely to play against the kinds of decks that Tron cannot beat in casual events. So, not that many people are going to bring Burn to a Pro Tour, and even fewer are going to bring Mill, and, decks like this, but they're very popular, or I should say a lot more popular at casual levels. So that hurts Tron as well, even in tournaments like Challenges or Leagues, right? So it doesn't surprise me that Tron would do a lot better in more competitive play than outside of it.
That's
that's a cool idea for sure.
I'm thinking of one corollary of like coming from what Anthony said, and it's probably true. I mean, I have not seen the numbers, but I would be surprised if not true. Like, probably decks that are like not glass cannons, but like decks that are falling to a certain type of hate usually should do better in high level events. Like, Amulet or whatever, Amulet is a deck that probably did well, like better in the PT than it did on average on like MTG or leagues or whatever. And I assume that must be the case for all this type of decks. I'm thinking also like all times affinity or whatever, like all these decks tend I think this, I mean, it makes sense, right? Because also you expect there's less of them. That means you have like less motivations to actually put a sideboard card for those decks in your sideboard anyway. Like I remember, like we could have put one top up in our Tron deck, but like it could be like, yeah, it's almost going to be only Harvey playing the deck, like whatever. And this goes on. Like Tibalt of the Red Sub or whatever it's called, like the name. How did I say it well? Tibalt
the sub red.
Yeah, almost.
Tibalt of Red Sub, I think. Yeah.
Like if you're playing the tournament, it's going to be a meal deck, right? But it doesn't mean you have to play an Emrakul. It doesn't mean like it's good EV to play Emrakul. But if there's enough decks like this, then you might play an Emrakul in your deck. When in the PT, you are way less likely to do this because the metagame is more condensed, as Anthony said. So I think what Anthony said is not only true for Tron, but also true to every deck that fall to hate pieces, I will say. Just that.
Yeah, that's cool. Speaking of Amulet, guys, today I played Amulet. It was so scary because, it's a tough deck, difficult deck, and whatever.
Luck deck.
But actually, the power of the One Ring, like, in that deck, the One Ring is like, it's so good. I feel like it is maybe even better than in Tron. I don't know. It was extremely good, and a combination of just delaying of exactly one turn, so I can cast the Amulet, as well as, of course, you put in place Blood Moon, you draw 5 cards or whatever, find the answer to Blood Moon, win. Yeah, I don't know. I think like Amulet, obviously. Also, I listened to the Dom Harvey podcast, and he said he went 4-1 against Scam. He was 4-0 in the Swiss and lost in the top 4 against Scam to the winner. But so it was kind of the narrative, right? Tron and Amulet lose to Scam, but at the tournament, Tron and Amulet didn't lose that badly to Scam, and yet Scam had one of the highest win percentages regardless.
I have one question, Mengu. The important question all the listeners and myself and probably Anthony are wondering. I mean, do you want to make a question, Anthony? Maybe I do it myself.
No, you.
Okay, so from 0 to 10, now you have played Amulet. What's the luck deck scale from Amulet? Because I'm going to make an official ranking at some point, and I want to know from 0 to 10, where do you rate the deck on luck deck scale, Mengu? It's important to me,
So, yeah, I mean, the thing with Amulet is that, like, the first time you play the deck is extremely hard. Like, let's say the first maybe 20 matches we play with the deck are extremely hard. But then later you can kind of understand how it works. But I feel like it's still like very much a skill deck. It's hard for me to put the numbers on though.
Oh, but you're the expert, so you're the one
give us a number.
We need a number.
Let's say it's a 8.5 skill deck.
Wow.
What does it mean in the luck scale? I don't understand the skill deck. I understand.
I think it means it's a 1.5 luck deck. Because
how is that even possible?
I wouldn't do this, but it seems like Mango has luck and skill as opposites on it's a dichotomy for him. They're opposites. So if he says 8.5 skill, I think he means 1.5 luck. Is that right?
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Exactly. Thank you, Anthony, for understanding. Yeah.
Can't believe you made me say those words. I will watch.
I mean, I don't want to be too nitpicky, but like we talk about like Grisfang being hard, but also being a luck deck back in the past. I know I'm seeing small holes here.
Oh no! Don't start looking for holes in this theory, Javier. That would be disastrous.
Amulet is very redundant. Like, I think it's a deck that gets its pieces.
Okay, so
have you read Dom Harvey's guide, Mengu? He has a very good guide. It's one of the best guides I've ever seen on a deck, especially for a modern deck. I think it's like 61 pages, but maybe I only think that because his deck is 61 cards. But,
I for sure read the whole part of his matchup against Blue Red Murktide. Like, that's very important. If you like play,
are you telling me? Wait. So you're saying you found a guide about Amulet, and then you opened it, and then you basically went Control F for Murktide? Is that what you did?
I went all the way to see how he was like, discussing sideboarding, playing against the Merc Tide, so that you know how to play better against it, for sure.
That's fair
Wow.
enough.
Yeah, I definitely read that part. I believe I read something at the beginning, but definitely didn't read the whole thing, like not even close, like maybe like 2 pages combined. But I'm sure that if you're interested in playing Amulet, make sure to. I mean, I advertise that guide a lot, so
I
yeah.
actually did read it. You did read it, Anthony? I actually did
Yeah.
read the whole thing. Yeah, it was
Yeah, it was
good.
interesting. Also,
Yeah,
we
but I
needed to
wonder
read it
what's
to
the
be able to
official
test.
scale. Okay, we should ask Harvey at some point about the exact number from his opinion of how 0 to 10 the deck lands on luck deck and skill deck. Luck deck mostly. I don't think luck deck and skill deck are opposed. I think they're different.
I also don't think they
different
are,
scales. I
but
think you can have like a deck that's 10-9 in skill and a 9 in luck or whatever.
yeah, I very much think that's the
Yeah.
case. But just because that's what we think is true doesn't really matter because Mangu's the one who makes this entire scale.
No, absolutely.
So,
Mango's the scale the scale lord. So if he says that,
just because we disagree doesn't mean anything.
no, absolutely. We disagree, but he's the one setting the rules. That is clear. So far we have a 1.5, but I'm curious because I think 1.5 is like too little. Honestly.
That's like the lowest rating I've ever heard. Like,
yeah, I mean we all got 7s or 6s. I think we had some mid-range deck that he decided it was a 6 or so. So
well, what does he say Merc Tide is?
Oh, Merc Tide is hard for sure.
how much of a
luck
give
deck?
us a number. Give us a number.
Yeah.
I would say that Amulet Titan, he's harder than Merc Tide.
Okay, thank God. Because if you said 1, I was just going to leave the call right now. I was just going to leave.
I would say
I'll just be done.
I would say like maybe 2.5 Merc Tide.
2.5 more than
Yeah.
Yeah, I will definitely make a ranking.
1.5 Amulet.
Okay. We already asked like half of the decks already in the metagame, so when they will make the official, not power rankings, but luck deck rankings. Okay. Yes, I
Very
don't want to off
important.
topic too much. Yeah, it's very important. It is for me.
Anthony,
Yes?
somebody today in the chat asked me about Mengu. What do you think about the way Team Handshake approached the Amulet Titan? Which brought me the question. I don't know. I can ask Anthony about it. Apparently, you guys tested Amulet Titan and you approached it with generous end. That's what I heard on my Twitch chat.
That sounds like slander. That was one person on Team Handshake who has an unhealthy obsession with generous N. Okay? Tristan Wild LaRue very unreasonably pursues generous N in every format. He drafted it at an obscene level. He tried it in every modern deck you could think of. I think he also begged people in play design to reprint it as soon as possible into standard. I don't know if he has a commander deck, but if he doesn't, he'll probably build one so he can have another generous end sleeved up. So, you could say that
Ooh,
he tried
played
generous
four
end.
copies at the
Of course.
I mean, that's in living end. I thought you were going to ask something else about how we approached Amulet because I think we mostly had Simon Nielsen working on Amulet before the PT, and I know that in testing, so when me and Simon were testing the matchup for Javier's top 8, we were like, well, we probably can't play the deck as well as Dom, so what we're gonna do is just let whoever's playing as Amulet just have unlimited takebacks and just change things if they need to. So, and sometimes if we just decided we sideboarded wrong, we'll just undo it in the middle of the match. It'll be fine. Just swap the cards, see how they play. Just assume that he would have done everything right and even beyond right, because maybe he'd see things that we couldn't see, that sort of thing. So I thought you were going to ask about that as a testing thing. We're giving Dom a lot of credit here, but I think that's fair.
Yeah.
But instead, you asked me about generous end. Come on.
Yeah, sideboarding was extremely challenging for me today. I don't know. I was just clicking buttons as always. Not as always, but definitely as always with these type of decks. I just have no clue. Like, having a sideboard guide when playing these decks is so helpful. At the end, last match for the trophy, I played against Mill, and I sideboarded into 69 lands.
Nice.
Sorry, 69 cards. Now, I wanted to show you my thought process because I never over sideboarded in the normal deck. But since this deck has 3 lands, you have Radiant Fountain, Conning Guard, Bojuka Bog, and Generous End, and your ratio in the main deck is like almost 50-50 lands, I thought it was fine to just bring in 4 lands, 4 spells, and still be able to play Magic, while obviously having an extra 8 cards in your deck, because you play 61 main deck, by the way. So
Yeah.
I was wondering what
That's a dumb
were
special.
your thoughts about doing this?
I feel like you're assuming that the Amulet deck plays more like a normal Magic deck when you do that sort of thing than seems to be the case. Like, that logic might hold up if you were playing, like, normal Magic, but that's not how your deck works.
Yeah, that is also what I was saying, why maybe it was wrong, but at the same time, you are kind of redundant with the deck. Like, you have, let's say, 8 of this, 8 of that.
Yeah, you're redundant because you
And,
need those things. Like, you really need to find it.
Yeah,
That's why
no,
you put
no.
so many in your deck. Doesn't mean that you get
Yeah,
to.
but like against,
Huh?
yeah, no, for sure. But like sometimes, just having extra. I mean, obviously, right? Having 8 extra card in your deck might mean like having, I don't know, 1 or 2 extra turn against Mill. I was just wondering because again, this is something I've never done, and I did it only today. And yeah,
So, how do you think the mill deck beats you?
they beat me. I think they've tried to surgical some of my pieces, but I don't think that is necessarily.
Sure, but I mean, if
I
the
guess.
thing is like they don't have to. They're not trying. They're not like a burn deck that's just trying to like mill you for 69 or whatever as quickly as possible. They win because they get rid of the cards you actually have to win, right? And if they get rid of enough cards, it's the case or with surgical. So like, why would adding like all the random cards help? I don't know. Javier, you
Yeah,
have
I don't
something to think?
know. I have endurance, so maybe if they only have 1 endurance with 4 pact, so maybe they don't get more cards and
Oh,
to
you have
find that
less if
one
you bought up
before.
to 69.
Well,
Yeah,
this is
for
a
sure, for sure.
this is a complicated matter, I think. So
Yeah,
first,
exactly.
there's like, first you started pointing out you have some lands, and saying you have lands in the sideboard makes it so you can sideboard into more cards. Well, that's not necessarily true. Like, you playing more lands for a reason, and the reason can, depending on the reason, these can mean you can actually just play more cards with the same amount of lands, and the other way around. Like here, for example, you are actually not that likely to reach the 6 mana mark and have a Titan accessible for you, but you probably will win more games with the Saga or whatever. So this is a deck where, ignoring the other factors that I'm going to talk about, you could probably play more cards without having more lands. Like here, you could play 65 cards with 29 lands, and you will still be okay. I will say. On the other hand, though, as Anthony said, like, you are playing a combo deck, which means 2 things. One of them is Meal is gonna beat you because the surgical. That's it, pretty much. And you need to like. You really need to draw specific pieces for your fastest draws, right? Like you want to have maximize the hands with like Amulet. I feel like if you don't have Amulet in your hand, you're just not going to be fast enough most of the time against them. Like all these Ursa Saga hands are often not going to be good enough against Meal. So I will probably say this deck is better not sideboarding into more cards, but I mean, obviously an expert will know better. And specifically the cards you are adding, they're not very good. Like, obviously Endurance is good, and that's it. Like, it's not like you adding. I mean, if you had like 4 Endurances and you don't want to cut any card, you can play up to 64 or 65 or whatever. But you're gonna add like, I don't know, Generous End. Like, you're not adding anything that's very good. So on that regard, I will probably just keep it small. You probably want some of these members, maybe. I'm not even sure.
Dismember for sure. Yeah, the crabs are just annoying. They're annoying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about for sure though, but at least on the draw, right? You want some on the draw, maybe on the play, probably not. Like they're like very marginal. You might want a Tarmout script, I guess.
I didn't bring that in, despite the 69.
Well, I will for sure bring Tarmout script if I'm playing 69 because the way you lose is the surgical your Titans. So Tarmout scripts prevents them from actually doing this.
Yeah, I was thinking about Drown in the Lock too.
Yeah, it's just a good card. It's just a good card. I mean, if I was playing Tron, I think maybe it's a good idea to bring the Tarmout Script is a good card against Meal. Like it is a good card.
I brought in I guess Endurance Dismembers. That's it. Maybe Maybe
Pact of Negation. Yeah, but I mean, Tarmogoyf Crypt is for me the second best card you have here because it's actually good against Meal. Just keep in mind for the future.
Anyway, I didn't want to talk too long about this, but it was definitely an interesting topic because
absolutely.
This is something that happened this morning, like on stream.
Something else happened this morning, Mengu. I've heard.
It did. I was very happy to share the news to Anthony as soon as it happened.
All right. Can you share it to our beloved listeners?
Yes, I went 5-0 with Merfolk featuring 4 Preordain. Yes. Merfolks. I had many spots where I had Preordain in my hand, and my mana base was Mutable Cavern of Souls. Although at the very last match to get the trophy, or I don't know, maybe the 4th one, I don't remember exactly, my opponent was playing Gore's Vengeance, and they were killing me next turn, and I drew Preordain and I scryed into Lord of Atlantis, and I killed them with it, so it was, in that particular game, I clearly remember it to be good. It's fine, it was just one league, so of course, not that much data into it, but my reasoning for why I decided to build this deck, I took the deck list from Daniel Christoph, the player who went 8-2 at the PT with Merfolk. I cut 2 Mistcaller, which is a pretty weak card, to be honest. It's a 1/1 that basically stops Archon of Cruelty and Living End. It might stop something else, but I think it's mostly those two. Do you guys think about something else?
Not, I mean, creativity. Yeah, creativity. I think that's it. But there's surely it also scam, right? Like a scam is a big thing. That is the stops. I will say.
Oh, I understand. I didn't think about that actually.
Like even through Fury. Like the thing is, you have this guy, right? They play Fury, and you kill it, and you sack in response, so they can now scam the Fury that turn. So.
Yeah, that's powerful actually.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's. Also it can help against Yawgmoth or whatever, but that's probably the biggest thing.
I think against Yawgmoth, I thought about it, but if they just go Cord or Eldritch, they just get, and you sack this, they just get grist, right?
Yeah, I guess so, but at least they don't get the Yawgmoth. But yeah, I mean, it's mostly against a scam, I will say. But yeah, you're right. It's not a great card. That's for sure. It's not a.
So I decided to cut 2 of these and 2 Force of Negation, which I put in the sideboard, and I put 4 Preordain, because why not,
Yeah.
Where
I can think of many reasons why not.
With 10 sources, 10 blue sources, GG.
No, 12.
12 blue sources, not enough. Anyway.
12, it's not enough, I know, of course I know, but I thought, it's what is your hand that you keep that doesn't have a turn 1 Preordain, doesn't have a Vial, what do you do? And would another one of these 2 cards make you keep this hand? And Preordain, I think it's a more reasonable late game draw. So this was my thought process.
I mean, that is true, though. I mean, there's a world where some amount of Preordains are correct. I would be surprised if
I think it would be a very small number if so, but I'm very skeptical of any.
I mean, if you have 58 good Merfolks or whatever, and you want to have I don't know what to put, and you can put 1 or 2, I guess, but the thing is, you never, ever, 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 ever want to draw 2 Preordains in this deck.
Yeah.
It's clear.
He's not cutting awful Merfolk. He's cutting cards like Force of Negation. It's not. It's just different,
Well, the most important thing is the best deck in Modern just went 5-0 again,
I also, against Murktide, I cut the Preordains for Chalice of the Void, and I won the post-ever games thanks to the Chalice of the Void.
But by the way, now we're on this.
Murktide.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so 0 to 10, luck deck ratio on Merfolk, Mengu.
Sorry, is that... Oh, so I should say a low number if I think this is a skill.
Yeah.
I'll say... man, this is difficult because I obviously need to, combine them with others. I can't just...
Of course,
that's the whole point of the scale. But... Have you just been making up numbers this whole time?
Let's say this is a 7 luck deck.
Okay.
What?
7 luck deck. Okay. Anthony, he's the expert. All right.
It's all the same card.
I think it's actually... No, it's a luck deck because it's easy to play. That's how it goes.
That doesn't...
All right. Thank you, Mengu. Well, I'm happy for
You're
Merfolk
welcome.
succeeding.
Well,
Like,
now you
you
have
know,
Preordain, so you have cantrip, so
I
it's very
beg,
yeah, but
hard.
they're
I
gonna
beg
be
anyone
cut.
playing Merfolk to not play Preordain. Like, it just makes no sense to me to have four Ether Vial, four Preordain next to each other. Like, one of these cards is
Well, I'm
all
gonna.
about, yeah.
Esper Vial in Legacy
Yeah, I'm
plays
gonna tell you
Vial
something.
and
Like, I played
Brainstorm.
Cephalic with vials and cantrips for a while, and you could be surprised about how these cards actually go well together. And
You bottomed
yeah,
Vial.
I can actually develop a little bit more if you're interested, Anthony. Are you?
Oh, yeah, do that actually. I mean, I
Okay.
think Cephalid is different, but I think that's
No,
interesting
but
anyway. I think you
I
should,
have played
yeah,
Vial decks in Legacy with
yeah.
cantrips. So there's two things. As Mango was saying, cantrips make it so the vials are less bad in late game. Like whenever you actually scry down a vial or put back in Waystorm or whatever with Ponder, it's actually a very good value because it's a card you will never want to draw. Like it's a mulligan if you draw it, right? So removing them is actually very useful.
Mm-hmm.
And two, as we have discussed before, cantrips are cards that change tempo for card quality slash almost card advantage in a way. So you're paying tempo for card advantage, and Vial does trade card advantage for a massive amount of tempo. So the result is, if you can curve out thanks to the cantrips in the Vial, you're for the cantrip, losing a little bit of tempo for some kind of advantage, but the Vial is getting you a lot of mana back. Like if you are getting cantrip into a 3-drop and then you just put the 3-drop with a Vial, you're actually making the cantrip to be a free card. Like, like free tempo card. And that's why they actually work well together, because you can actually sculpt your hand much better, so you maximize the Vials. So those cards actually work together in a way.
That's interesting because I
Yeah, I
assumed that would
remember.
be more
Yeah,
true for Cephalid, which is a more flexible deck. Whereas, like, I don't see Merfolk as a deck that is trying to play that kind of flexible plan. Like, you just have to spend all your mana every turn on all Merfolk, I think.
Well, but the thing is, you spend more mana with the Vial. Like, you are turn 3, for example, and you preordain into 2-drop, so you can Vial on 2 and play a 2-drop. That's the situation where this will be good here. I'm not saying it's correct to play Preordain. I'm just saying cantrips, if they are good cantrips, actually don't play bad with Vial, even though it might look so the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, but not with
yeah,
Vial, but with a Vial deck. Like, the kind of deck that is implied when you play, like, you put Ether Vial in a specific kind of deck, right?
Well, of course, but if you play Vial, play 30 creatures. Like, that's assumed.
Yeah.
Like, if you play 30 creatures in a Vial deck, cantrips are actually not bad. That's it. So, maybe it's good, I don't know.
Okay, interesting.
and by the way, Daniel Christoph actually answered my tweet just now,
Okay,
saying
let's
that
see.
he said always happy to see new take on the deck. Might have to try Preordain myself now. So
You see?
if you follow Daniel Christoph, Lord Breakfast, he's gonna tell
Well,
you the
I
truth.
interpret that tweet as saying that he had not thought that Preordain was playable in Merfolk. He just said it in a really nice way. You know.
Well, but now he thinks he might be, you know?
Well, he's just being polite. You know, it's like sometimes my mother serves me dinner and it's terrible, and I'm like, this was really interesting. I might have to try this later. You know, that's basically what happened here.
Okay, but what do you say, though, if you actually think it's interesting and you should try it?
Then you're just screwed.
No, I mean, like, I don't agree. Like, what if you actually think, like, because I'm...
It's okay, Javier.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: if I thought it was good, if he thought it was good, why had he not tried it? Like, it seems very obvious that like I'm
because it was banned in Modern.
It
was not legal. It was not legal to play this card in
but
Modern.
it
That's
became
why.
legal, and he had not tried it because he obviously had not crossed his mind that it would be a reasonable thing to do.
All right. I'm glad to see Merfolk in the spotlight once again. Thank you, Mango, for bringing it up, so we can just keep throwing Merfolks at Anthony. That's
Let's show another deck that keeps on doing very well on these online tournament. It won the Modern Qualifier during the Pro Tour, the same weekend of the Pro Tour. Hammer won the Super Qualifier, and now it also won the Showcase Challenge by Adlai_MTG. This is once again the version with 4 Emeria's Call and 4 Solitude in the sideboard. And I swear, I keep on playing this list, and I keep on being screwed by the Emeria's Call. It's kind of like, in many ways, first, it's the 3 damage, which is huge in many matchups in Modern, of course. And the second one is the Blood Moon, which people just sideboard you in regardless. And I just had a game that I lost against Cam because I had 2 Emeria Call, and I just couldn't cast my Sanctifier and Vec, or, my white card. So I keep on being surprised to see this version of Hammer, which, again, keeps on winning. The other event also was won by 4 Miracle Solution. Do you guys have any opinion? Did you test Hammer at all? What list did you play? Things like that.
I actually disliked it. I think the Mirror's Call is not better than the other version, but obviously like it depends on the metagame. But as long as the metagame is like Murtite and scam based, I think the medical is just like not correct. Like as they say, they have to have Blood Moon, but also like so many games come down to like they chump with the creatures and attack you in the air with DRC or whatever. Like so many games come down to like 2 life. And obviously like Solitude, like I think it would be okay if you are like, okay, there's enough Mortet, so I'm playing Solitude main deck, and that's fine. But like, for example, this way, you're playing Murder's Call game 1, where you actually don't want them, only for the Cyborg Solitude. So I don't think, like, I would play this version if Solitude was good enough in the metagame to play it main deck. And if it was not good enough to play it main deck, I would just not play the Murder's Call. That would be my approach here. By the way, Ornithopter on the sideboard. What? I mean, I understand it's for fast matchups or whatever, but like, why? I mean, sure, Mana Tide, please, counter that spell or something. I don't like the Ornithopter in the cyber, but can you explain me why, Mango? What it is there, or Anthony? I mean, on the speed, or...
Yeah, I played a league with this deck, and I remember sideboarding it in against Tron. So I guess it's for the matchups where you have to go fast, and you have to Goldfish faster than them, and Ornithopter can help you there, because it gives you... a Metacraft for the Paladin very early, as well as, of course, carrying a hammer on turn 2.
Well, shouldn't then, so the question is, if you're going to play an artifact that costs 0 to Goldfish better, which I can respect, shouldn't it be Menmite, however it's called, the 1-1? Like, if it's only for the Goldfish matchups, 1-1 should be better, right? Like, 1-1 is worse because it dies to Random 6, to Orc, whatever. So I understand it's worse now than Ornithopter. But specifically for, Tron, Living End, all these matchups where you have to be fast and try to maximize turn to kills, Midnight should be better, isn't it? Maybe I'm wrong.
That's what I thought.
Against the near...
But, like, maybe... you
could side in.
Like, maybe it's not a complete Goldfish, like, you have to Goldfish quickly against Tron, but, like, maybe they're afraid of, like, I don't know, like a Worm Coil or something, and then the Ornithopter's a big deal. Like, that's my guess, I don't really know. Like, intuitively, I thought Midnight would be better, but I'm guessing that the matchups between Goldfish, they can produce a blocker somehow, like, or incidentally.
Yeah, but also damage is... I mean, I understand Thopter is better main deck. I'm just wondering, like, maybe the Cyber Midnight should be better. Even though it will still be weird to Cyber and Midnight anyway, but...
That's my intuition. My intuition is that Midnight is better, but I'm trying to guess at the reasoning. Although, like, I'm guessing if it's good, it's because there are enough decks where you have to Goldfish, but there are... that you can't play like targeted hate, because it can't be specifically for Tron, otherwise you would just play a card that's good against Tron. So I'd say you have to be faster in enough different matchups that you need one that's good in all of those cases, so those decks also have to not overlap. And that seems... well, it's doesn't seem very likely, but it's possible, I suppose.
I guess creativity,
I don't think
for
Modern
example,
is so
you will
broad
play
that could be
Thopter.
possible.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like...
That's true, yeah, creativity.
Yeah, I guess there's enough orcs around. Yeah,
so,
okay. I'm convinced.
But overall, the deck has been good. Of course, it's been winning a lot. This version plays 2 Forge in you, which I don't know. It's a card I would play maybe as a one of, but I'm not even that convinced about that. Surge's Salvation is amazing. I think I cited in like almost always because it protects you against so many different things. Most importantly, red and black cards, or even Force of Negation, Force of Vigor, which is kind of crazy. So I think that Surge's Salvation is to me, if I had to play Hammer, I would play 4, honestly. If you had to play Mono White Hammer specifically, I think Spell Pierce is better.
You like the No Splash? Like, you like the Mono White much? You like the Mono White better?
I'm not so sure, honestly. I play very little of Hammer, but I was considering if you had to be mono white, you could access to like Reprieve, maybe if you don't have access to blue. That's a card that wasn't there before the new set, although they haven't been playing it. They clearly thought about it.
One more thing also, like, Hammer won the tournament, but it was also the only Hammer deck in the top 32. Like, I was thinking just a deck list of the Showcase Challenge. I will not describe this tournament as a tournament where Hammer did well. Honestly.
No.
I will definitely describe this as a tournament Scam did well, maybe Tron did well, Living End or whatever, like not Hammer. I'm sorry, Anthony.
This is incredible, Javier. Right now, you're saying one person can do very well with a deck, and it doesn't count as that deck suddenly being great. Is that what you're saying?
No, I will never offend your beliefs like this, Anthony Lee.
You,
Sorry.
I can't believe that you're lauding this 8-2 Merfolk performance, and now you're like, wow, well, just because one deck did well, this is hypocrisy. This is sick. This is absolutely sickening. I can't stand for this.
Yeah, I take it back.
If you remember,
but Hammond did really well at the Pro Tour too. Remember that. He did do very well at the PT.
Yeah, the analysis post Pro Tour was that the 5 Armor players did well, and they had a good win percentage against the top 3 decks, which were Tron, Scam, and Rhinos, especially since Rhinos cut all the Force of Vigors.
Yeah.
So like it's kind of like the trend again, right? Like even if you look at the Jun deck, I believe it doesn't play. I mean, I guess you have Giganta, but like it doesn't play Force of Vigor. And I remember Jun playing Force of Vigor.
Yeah, and it just destroyed Hammer. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean this deck still beats Hammer presumably, but I know what you mean. Like all the decks are good against Hammer anyway. Like yeah, Four of the Sages, but like they're still not do that much because they need hate cards. Like if a deck is good against Hammer, but then you don't play any Force of Vigors, then it's much worse.
Yeah, in this tournament, there were 2 players that did very well at the PT that did also very well at the Showcase Challenge. One was, of course, Gul Dukat, Daniel Goshell. Actually, fun fact: I was writing an article, and I just spelled the Daniel Goshell surname without checking. And then I checked, and I spelled it right, and I felt very happy about
Victory.
it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Bravo, I don't know bravo. Congratulations.
Yeah. Anyway, so Guldukat, he was playing, he's 4-color Rhinos, basically the same deck as the PT, but with slightly different changes. Mostly he was playing, I believe, he was playing Murktide Regent at the PT, and he cut it for the Showcase Challenge. So for Brazen Borrower, but again, very, very tiny little changes, but I really like 4-color Rhinos. I think it's good with Blood Moon numbers going down. Yeah. I like going to a 4th color.
Honestly, this is a deck I should have played in the Showcase. Nate actually liked it. Nate was like, let's play this, and I was like, I'm not believing this is better than the normal Rhinos, and that's how we eventually played Junt.
Yeah.
So being serious though, I like this is a deck we should have played, and it was mostly my fault.
Yeah, I like this deck. Yeah, I like this deck a lot. I think it's somebody asked me about what do you think. Well, knowing the deck list and the metagame, what would you have played at the PT? I think I like the 4-color Rhinos the most.
Well, I would have not played this for the PT, but I would have played this on the Showcase. So I guess that's the only difference.
Yeah, and
I felt that this was the best. This was one of the decks that I want the most right after the PT. Like if people ask me, when people ask me what should I play for the PTQ, I said this deck. Like it's as soon as people adjusted for Tron, which they would have for the PTQ of that weekend. That's when it's time to play something else. And in terms of raw power level, I like this deck a lot. I'm still not 100% sure it's better than regular Rhinos. I actually just don't know, but I think it could be.
What do you guys think about not playing a Teferi in this deck?
Great. Sounds awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Like this deck is not trying to become a different deck. It's just Rhinos with 12 Cascades and a better removal spell. That's it. It's not trying to morph into a more mid-range deck with control elements, playing Teferi for value, whatever. No, it's just a Rhinos deck that's keeping it just straightforward Rhinos, and also playing Leyland Binding because it's too good to not play once you play white. But that's it. That's the beauty of it. Like, this is much better on a structural level than the old 4-color Rhinos for that reason. It's not diluted. It's not a World Rhinos deck. It's actually a better Rhinos deck. And I think that's the key point Daniel actually hit. Actually, he has impressive deck building skills. Like, single-handedly build a new version of Phoenix in Pioneer or whatever. Like, there's a player that keeps just doing very good work in the, in terms of as an artificer, good job there.
One more question about this deck. The Bonecrusher Giant. That's a card I remember not liking it in Teamer, and Pivo and other players didn't play Bonecrusher Giant. All the people that top 8'd the PT with Teamer Rhinos, nobody played Bonecrusher Giant. But then there comes this team with 4-color Rhinos, so you have access to one more color, yet you choose to play 3 Bonecrusher Giant plus a 4th one. So they clearly like Bonecrusher Giant.
Well,
Well, I mean,
I was under the impression that Daniel experienced a great deal of opposition to adding Bonecrusher Giant. You know, they told him it would never work, but he plowed through, and apparently it did. So I don't know. I think some good part of this must be to do with trying to be maybe they just think it's the best ring answer, right? Like the other ones
it
don't fit
is.
in this
It
deck as
is.
easily.
Like it is the
So
only
He has
best.
also Commandeer.
No, but it is the only ring answer that you can main deck, and it's actually decent against scam. Like that's the thing. Like if you have this against Ragavan or both Walker, that's fine. But also have this against Ring, it's fine. So you don't need to play like cards like Questing Beast or whatever. Commandeer is like a cyber card. It's not like something you can main deck. Unfortunately, because I like the card, but yeah.
Yeah, I this deck interests me a lot. He did well again. Congrats to Daniel. I think it's gonna be challenging to see what's the best version of Rhinos, and I think this is the classic modern moment where nobody knows. People just
but,
play decks and
Um,
uh,
I would be surprised
well, I
if
mean,
it's
I
not
think
this
it's
one.
possible.
Yeah.
Although I will note that I think Daniel was the only one who did well with his list at that PT. I think his teammates playing the same 4-color deck did not do so well. So I don't know if there's something else going on there. Like
overall, it's still at a decent win percentage. Like I think 50 something. Like it was one of the few winning decks, the 4-color Rhinos. But then again, it's mostly his name for sure. Let's talk about another deck by, again, another player that top 16, the PT, True Hero, Marco Basalo. Ran it back. He went 7-1, lost the last one, and finished 9th in the Modern Showcase. And once again, he played a brew of his. It's very refreshing to see Marco keep on doing well with, not not how do you say, like not net decking basically.
you like
And
that he
what
shows
did
off a lot of creativity, right? That's what you enjoy about his deck building.
Yeah, exactly. He has a lot of creativity in deck building for sure, and he showed up with the EZ creativity. So, of course, when I say EZ, I obviously mean you still have 2 Xander Lounge to cast Arcane of Cruelty, but you don't have Brandon 6, you don't have the Fairy, you don't have Leyline Binding. It's just EZ. So
Basic
you're
island,
playing,
actually.
yeah, your basic island to cast Preordain. Because I've seen a couple of decks this weekend with Preordaining creativity, and I'm wondering, the mana base is so painful for that deck. Like going turn 1 Preordain in that deck, it's no joke. Like if you have to go turn 1 Spell Pierce with creativity, you're gonna take like 9 damage from your lands. So I'm not so sold on Preordaining 5-color creativity, and probably Marco started with Preordaining 5-color creativity and then went back and started to cut all the other colors so you can go like, turn 1 Steam Vents, mountain, something like that, basically. Similarly to what he does in Pioneer.
Well. He plays Counterspell, so I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
he
I think he would have just started somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, he's playing one Mountain Mango. He's playing Counterspell Preordain. Like this is basically Murtide, but with creativity instead of Murtide. Like this is a whole different deck, I will say.
Yeah, no, I was playing this. I played the league with this deck. I was able sometimes to go like again, Preordain, like Fire Ice, Fable, something like that. The mana base. I definitely took less damage than normal, but the power level was also less powerful.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting version. I also played through the breach to go for like fake cruelty and after or whatever, just playing this flash game. I mean, I'm not sure how to evaluate this. I mean, it just seems like he just took all the multicolor cards from the other creativity deck to just play counterspells, which honestly makes sense. But in my experience, specifically Rhino 6, I am a little bit skeptical. Like I think Rhino 6 was just too good in the deck. I understand cutting Teferi, Leland Binding, cutting the white easily. But I think Rhino 6, once you play Triumphs, is just like so cheap and it's so good in this deck. Like once you play Fable, I feel like Rhino 6 is you could play these cards. I think you could play all the same shell with Rhino 6 over Iteration, for example.
Iteration. Yeah, Iteration is always underwhelming in these
exactly.
high curve deck.
But you can play as I like the idea of Counterspell though. I think it might be good.
Yeah. All right, guys.
This looks good to me.
How about I don't know if you have any more topic about Modern. How about we take a look at some of the Wilds of Eldraine cards?
Okay.
Sure.
Thoughts?
Uh,
Okay.
so
Okay.
we won't talk about them in the context of upcoming standard, of course, because we have the World Championship coming up. But I think a few of these, certainly more than you would expect, may be relevant outside standard. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Anthony highlighted some of them. I'll read the first one. Here is Beseech the Mirror. It's a sorcery. It costs 1 black, 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 so a total of 4, 1 colorless. And it has the ability of Bargain. It says, you may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token as you cast the spell. So, you cast a spell, you sacrifice artifact, enchantment, or token. You search your library for a card, you exile it face down, and shuffle. If this spell was bargained, you may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost, but only if the spell costs 4 or less. And then you put the exiled card in your hand if it wasn't cast this way. So it's either a Diabolic Tutor if you don't suck anything, or if you suck something, you can go get a 4-drop or less and cast
Bring
it.
to light for 4, basically.
Yeah.
Bring to light for 4, basically. Okay.
Well, Bring to Light already almost wins the game in Modern for 5 mana, so you can believe this will probably be close to win the game as well in bigger formats.
Of course, what Bring to Light does is Scapeshift Vault,
Yeah.
and this card checks both of them.
Yeah.
Of course, if you think about older formats, just powerful cards like Doomsday and Tinker,
The best one I've
which are
seen,
restricted, of
I
course.
saw on Twitter that you can get Gaia's Will, and then it's actually quite easy to chain off and kill people, because then you just have a York's Will. So
Yeah,
Alright.
exactly.
Yeah. You can just play a couple of
Anthony
rituals.
mentioned this, but I kind of wanted to slow roll this interaction for the podcast.
Oh,
So,
well, now you know.
You mentioned Gaz Will. Let's read it together, because that's not a card I remembered at all. It was like nobody played it, right? Like this card, nobody played it in MH2.
Well, no, but it has
It's-
familiar text.
It's Yamath Will,
Yeah,
it's Yamath Will,
yeah.
right? Pretty much.
Yeah, it's suspend 4. You pay a green and you suspend 4, so similar to Crashing Footfalls. And until the turn, you may play lands and cast spells from your graveyard. And if a spell would be put in your graveyard anywhere, this turn exile. So that's literally the Yogmoth's Will text.
The picture's actually
So what
like somewhat similar to the Yamath Will picture.
Yeah, I think the whole
Tomorrow.
cycle was like that, Javier.
Oh,
like it's-
I didn't
Oops,
know
tomorrow.
that.
Yeah, it's like there's a whole bunch of them like that.
So
Oh,
it's
yeah,
a
that's true,
color
actually.
shifted Yama's Will. I mean, this art is also
Yeah.
kind of strange. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, you go Beseech the Mirror and you go Yogmoth's Will, which is
Yeah.
obviously banned in Legacy.
And then you win. Yeah, because Yama's Will wins a game.
But it's like very easy. Like
So-
you just go like ritual, any zero
yeah, you
mana
s-
artifact, cast this, and
Yeah,
then like
exactly.
guys will let you replay the artifact, so you just go off again.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you have Lotus Petal, Lines of Diamond, Mox Chrome.
Well, this will trigger a lot of turn. Like, it's very, very easy to make turn 1 kill with this in Legacy Storm. Like, it's like it's like Ad Nauseam used to be almost a kill, but it's 5 mana, and I think 4 and like you can sacrifice Bolt of Whispers, you know. So it's much
Right.
easier to make. Like, I think 4 mana is way easier than 5 mana. Like, you go land, Ritual Mox this, kill, and that's that's pretty good, I would say. So I think this probably the best card they have printed for Storm in a while, right?
I assume
Yeah,
so.
they unbanned Mind's Desire. How good is that in store?
Well, this seems much better than Mind's Desire. This is like a 4 mana Mind's Desire that does not wins the game.
Yeah.
I think it's a whole different level.
Yeah. So in Legacy, okay. In Modern, does into Tibalt sacrificing a token as well, I guess. You can sacrifice.
I mean, in
Um,
Modern, I don't know. It seems hard to have things to sacrifice as reliable in Modern. Which
Yeah,
deck you're
you
gonna put
don't-
this? Like, I mean, you can think of this as semi Eldritch Evolution. You play this for 4, sack, like a token from Orcish Well Masters or whatever, and you put the Yamath into play. The issue is this is good with the Colony Garden. Like, this could be
You
good in
can put the
Yamath.
One Ring.
Huh?
You can put the One Ring with this.
Yeah, you can also sack the One Ring, So this is like, if the mana base holds, this could be playable in Yamath for that reason, because you already play some tokens.
Also in Mono Black Cabal Coffers, I guess.
Thing is, Black Coffers actually does not have sacrifices effects that much, you know.
Yeah, the orc is the
Yeah,
first one I
it's the
think, but
pretty
that's
much the
it.
only one, you know, like
Yeah, you don't have Chrome Mox or Bolts of Whisper and Modern.
exactly. And you know, so you don't have also that many like mana flood situations where you know because you die before usually. So I think this like might be fine in Yamath. I don't know if something somewhere else. I mean, could you play one Valk in Yamath? Maybe also, right? Like, you know, this card could be fine in Yamath. Other than that, I don't think this has too many applications because having 3 black and something to sacrifice in modern, I just don't see it. Like, it doesn't seem easy.
I just
What about
yeah
Pioneer?
yeah.
Pioneer, maybe, yeah. Pioneer, maybe. Like, maybe because there's a deck which plays a lot of tokens, you know, like
Yeah.
sacrifice.
Doesn't mind
That's a lot
sacrificing
of.
things, has things to search for. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I think this could work, but it's something that we have to try. But this card could be good. The power level is there for sure. Like,
You already have the Diabolic Intent in that card, so no play.
well, but
Obviously, this might be slightly.
but this puts into play. You know, like having access to a toolbox that puts into play is a different thing. Like if you can make this like an answer or a Sheoldred or a Valky in the same card in a deck where all cards are most fine anyway. That even a Fable, you know, like if you suck a blood, put a Fable for 4 mana, it's not like the end of the world. It's still fine. Where the Diabolic Intent is like always like card disadvantage or something. Like I think this card is maybe playable in Pioneer, but we'll have to see. Like mostly because of Valky. If there's no Valky, I will say this card's like no good for its
Not so
value.
exciting,
Like,
yeah. Triple Black's actually a bit difficult.
yeah.
There's one more card that Anthony highlighted it. It's called Torch the Tower. It's an instant for a red mana, and it once again has the ability to bargain, so you can sacrifice artifact, enchantment, or token as you cast the spell. It deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker, and if the spell was bargained, instead it deals 3, and you scry 1. And if a permanent gets dealt damage by this, you exile it instead. So this is a shock for a creature or planeswalker, but if you sacrifice, as you said, blood or treasure, you can also deal you deal 3 instead, and you draw a card. All of this for just 1 mana.
I mean, it's like a magma
Is this better
spray.
than Fatal Push?
Yeah, like, I don't know, it's Magma Spray with Slight Upside, which I think might be good, but I'm not really sure.
Seems worse than Fury Impulse, though, right? I will say.
Probably, but I think this might be specifically good in decks like Sack that also have some issues with Phoenix. Like, that's a deck that can, like, use the Sacrifice Upside and specifically might want to exile something. This one I think is more modern.
It's still a magma spray. Like,
Yeah. That's the awkward part.
no, I think this
does
one
get
is.
played.
The other one, I think it's great for Legacy. This one, I think it's just nah.
Magma Spray keeps on having
Tragic.
upgrades. Yeah.
Yeah, still always bad.
I'm thinking about sacrificing I don't know why my brain thought about that, Demonic Pact for mana enchantment.
Well, that's good for some Pioneer VEEDEO, you know.
Yeah, some
That's
people out
sweet.
there that love to play Demonic Pact.
That is sweet. That is sweet, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I must
Alright,
concede
and
that.
then
You know?
yeah, and then finally we got a reprint here. Sleight of Hand, sorcery. Look at the top 2 cards. One of them in your hand, one at the bottom. And I'm in a group with a bunch of creativity players, and they are loving it in Pioneer Creativity, or at least they're thinking they think that they love it in Pioneer Creativity. Pioneer also has Lotus Field, which probably this card will like. I don't know. I'm thinking that similarly to Preordain, every deck that wants to play an effect like that, Sleight of Hand is an upgrade. Pioneer.
As well as an upgrade for some decks, like, could you build Phoenix with, like, this many cantrips? Like, could you ever play, like, 12 cantrips in Phoenix? I don't know. But now you have another set.
You might not remember, but I top 8 PT with Pseudo Ops because I think Sleight of Hands was better than Opt in Phoenix. So that's where it's going. So I think in Phoenix this card's better than Opt. I thought back in the day, and I just think it's a better card than Opt. Like it just digs one more card when you don't have certainty of where to choose. If you're gonna know, like it's a long thing, but I wrote an article. It's like I will link it actually in the podcast later because I think Sleight of Hands is better than Opt, and that's why I think it's gonna be playable in Pioneer Phoenix. I think it's gonna be played there, and I think it's a better card. I think it's an upgrade from Opt. So
yeah, I think it could be both, but yeah, I think this one was worth highlighting as well because I don't know. So I think I missed the preview because it came out during the PT or something, and I hadn't actually noticed that Sleight of Hand was in the set. But I think that card might be quite meaningful. So it's worth. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about a better cantrip, but there it is.
But it's a good card. I think Sleight of Hand is a
Yeah.
very good card. Like it's not Preordain, but it's like scrying one and drawing is much worse than looking at two and getting one. Like if you think about Preordain is often like look at two and get one. Like it's only when you both bottom. That's the only way where I think they're in the middle. So assuming instant speed doesn't matter much, which doesn't tend to matter in most decks, especially Phoenix decks, I think it's a sensible upgrade for me.
Yeah, could be great.
There is at the RC in Athens, a player top 8'd, I think even deeper than that, with Demilik in Arclight Phoenix. So like a critical amount of cantrip will definitely help the Demilik version of that Phoenix deck.
Absolutely, actually. Yeah, I mean, Phoenix could play 10 to 12 cantrips. Like, it's a deck that might just handle that. And also, it opens, it also opens, different builds where you're making your Delph spells better, as Mengu said. Also, cards like Demilik or even Thing in the Ice, Like, these cards become better the more cantrips you play. So, maybe there's a world where we just want all of them. Like, the old modern deck had 12 also, I think, right? So,
that's the most interesting thing to me.
So, I think Phoenix can afford to play 12 if the deck wants to.
Because you had, Fateless Looting? No, you didn't consider.
No, we had Fateless Looting, we had Sleight of Hand and Thought Scour, if I remember correctly.
Thought Scour, right.
Yeah,
Thought Scour, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's, Sleight of Hand definitely playable slide. I mean, it's gonna be played in Pioneer. I don't think it's gonna be good in Lotus, but maybe it is. I'm just a big fan of this card. I always thought it was extremely good. Lotus maybe prefers to play Impulse, but there's a world where you're gonna cut some of the cards, like Impulses, for this so you can curve out better, but Impulse presumably better than this. This might be better than Shimmer possibility, I don't know, just obviously instant speed that's not a big deal, but it does impact the game sometimes, where especially with Voseju and Otawara, in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, one great card. It's been here for ages. I remember playing this in 7th edition. That the ones I play are from 7th edition. Yeah.
Yeah.
With a lady doing the Sleight of Hand.
That one?
Yeah.
I have one of each one. It's very nice.
No, classic Anthony.
One of each.
Yeah. One of each language.
I remember buying the one from Portal Second Age to play in Ad Nauseam in Modern. Yeah, it's a long. Back when Ad Nauseam, with the band of Preordain, people go like, "Oh, can we play Ad Nauseam again?" I'm like, unfortunately, the band of Seaman Spirit Guide really hit that deck very badly.
Exactly. But now Preordain is, yeah. I mean, there's no way to play Mana Acceleration, but is the 4-mana card good in Ad Nauseam? The 4-mana Visage?
There is basically you go like a 0-mana Pact, and then you go and offer you can't refuse. That's how you make 2 mana. So, but you need 1 mana spare. Like you combo, you draw your deck, but you need 1 mana spare because you go Pact, a White Pact, and then you go and offer you can't refuse. 2 treasure, Tassa's Oracle. That's how you combo. But obviously it's 1 extra mana before Ad Nauseam combo.
It was Zero, yeah. It's a whole different thing. Yeah, the power level is so high.
The one difference between comboing with the
absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward for more brewings and more formats. It's just like the magic never stops. I am in a good mood today for that. I mean, sometimes I just play tournaments where my decks don't feel very good or whatever, or I don't do well, but I still feel like maybe next time I will have a better deck, and it's good.
Also a great mood today as well. I after the 2 trophies on stream, which I know it didn't happen very often for me, so.
It's hard.
I had a great.
They know it's hard.
Yeah, especially if you play Preordain Merfolk, Anthony.
Well, yeah.
Especially hard.
Well, especially if you play talking to your chat, the way. That's something that a lot of people feel like. It's actually very hard to play well in the stream while you're streaming. If you ever come to my stream, I might know what I'm talking about, and then when I make the play, I'm just mess up or whatever. It's very hard to actually do both things at the same time. So, actually, Mengu's very good at this.
When playing Amulet, I had a line of a Titan and Amulet, and I actually had a lethal line, but I didn't realize it. But half of my chat was saying I had lethal, half of the chat said I didn't have lethal. They actually didn't explain what was the line, and I ended up just not killing that turn. But fine, I won eventually. But it's definitely hard because you also like have to keep entertaining, so you can't just be there reading every comment. Like that's a problem with I believe as a streamer. Like you actually need to keep the show going and say things while after you read the chat and try to like process who said the truth, who said a lie, and things like
The
that.
classic chat lethal. Remember when I was streaming
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
lot?
no.
The chat lethal, you were there, they were like, lethal, lethal, lethal. You were like, and obviously it was almost never lethal. And you were like,
Yeah, no, but like when
lethal?
I play these decks like that, like Amulet or Yawgmoth, where I actually don't know if I'm lethal.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's not Merfolk. Like I know if I'm lethal when I play Merfolk, but some other times it's not as
And
intuitive.
that's why Merfolk is high on the luck scale, luck deck scale.
Yes, 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 for sure. What do you think, Javier? Does Yawgmoth same tier as a skill level as a Amulet Titan?
Um, so the way I see it, I mean, I have played the deck, both decks a first share, but I'm not an expert, so I don't want to mess it up too much. I will say I think Amulet is a little bit easier because the difficulty is more based about what you're doing. So once you actually see the lines, you see them. Like if you play enough times with Amulet, you actually see the sequences better. But the difficulty with Yawgmoth often comes from where to play the scrappy games. If being able to win the game with the greased and nothing else or whatever. So I will say Yawgmoth is harder for me for the reason. Like Amulet, you are often like winning the game or not. Like you're always trying to do your plan, right? It's not that easy that you actually like you have the Valakut plan, the Saga plan, and the Titan plan. I guess Colossus, but but Yawgmoth, you also have you often end winning the game with like a Jung Wolf and a Grease because everything else dies. So I will say Yawgmoth is harder from my perspective.
Yeah, Yawgmoth seems like pretty clearly harder to me. I don't know. There's I think there's a lot of foresight involved in Yawgmoth as well, and I think fighting through interaction is a little bit more of a dance with Yawgmoth than it is for Amulet. Like with Amulet, it's about like getting through hate, but the hate is very binary. Whereas with Yawgmoth, it gets pretty difficult. I don't know. Like you also have faced with a lot of I think lots of the cards are modal. Like stuff like Court is really hard. Like there are tutors in Amulet, but it should not be that hard to figure out like what you're supposed to get most of the time. Whereas I feel like that decision is quite difficult in Yawgmoth a lot of the time.
Would you say that the difficulty of Yawgmoth or Amulet as well made you like not test the deck or like not test the deck a lot as much as Tron, for example, where
No.
you pick it up, but you play Magic, and it's a normal deck.
Not for me personally. So as I said, like I think Yawgmoth difficulty is the one. If you pick up, if you pick up Amulet out of the blue, it's gonna be extremely hard. But if you play enough Amulet, that's fine. I actually for PT London, I play like 20 leagues with Amulet or whatever, so I actually know the basics of the deck. So it was never like a situation. And I also I forced myself to play Yawgmoth as well online for a few leagues. I think I played some challenges or even a mocks.
You did,
So
yes.
I think I have basics for the deck, so it was never a consider. Like I actually tried Yawgmoth. I just got tired of losing to Scam every time. Like they just completely like. No, I actually tried Yawgmoth. I didn't play Amulet because we had Simon, which is definitely a superior player in Amulet than me. So we just believed his results. And Yawgmoth, I just didn't like it. So I will say no. Difficulty was not like I respect the difficulty a lot for playing tournaments like mocks or whatever. But for the PT, if I have enough time, I would just put all I have into it. But I have to say though, I did fail to play Lotus well in the PT Pioneer. I don't know if ultimately I would have played it or I would have played Ragdas, but I remember trying Lotus, could not win with it, and at some point it was like little enough, like so I just had to be like, okay, I just cannot play Lotus well for the PT, so I'm not gonna play.
We just ran out
and
of time.
Yeah, like so this didn't happen this time. I don't think this will happen to me to any deck in Modern right now, because I think I know all of them enough. But this happened to me in the PT and Pioneer, so it didn't happen this time, had happened in the past, and will happen in the future, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know.
I think I think it is more likely to happen in Pioneer. I feel like the decks are more distinct, like there's less overlap. Like I would expect that if there was a deck like that in Modern, there would be something that's a reasonably close analog. Because a lot of the decks are centered around specific powerful cards, but yeah, it's hard to
They
tell
also been there
obviously
for a
without
while.
knowing.
Like they also been there for forever. Like
Yeah.
like Living End has been there forever. Rhinos been there forever. Hammer even already like 2 years. Like all these decks, I have played them before, like years ago. Like I guess the only decks are like Scam is the only new deck that has more
Yeah,
than
but
two
like
years. Less
those,
than two
yeah, but
years.
those decks are like you just shuffle and play. You don't like it's normal. Like you don't have to go through like tutors and like things like that. Whereas, yeah,
Well,
Like all,
I
all these all
well
these
and
decks.
not in Legacy.
Yeah,
the
like in
first
modern all the
time
decks,
that
they're normal.
the first time we started playing Amulet, Javier was like, this deck was meant to be really really hard, but it's not so much. It is hard, but it's not so much hard as it is unintuitive. Like it's just weird. But once you get past the weirdness, it's like not actually that hard because it's like we said, there's not as much diversity in the game plans or whatever. There's various factors that go into difficulty. That's a whole other scope. But that was the thing, and like once you get past that barrier, it's fine. It's totally fine once you get past the barrier.
Totally fine. Yeah, I agree. Actually, I like those words.
Yeah, exactly. The first like 20 match or even maybe more than 20 match, you will not know what you're doing and will lose to your own Summoner's Pact. But then like
Yeah.
you
And that's the thing,
start
though, right? Like a lot of people's impressions of difficulty are going to be based on very different things. Like some people will play the deck for the first time and be like, "Whoa, I'm way in over my head," and then they'll go on to believe and say that that deck is like very very hard, which it is the first time, right? But in the context of preparing for a tournament, that's not the context. It's a different context, so it makes sense that people have different experiences in that regard.
speaking
That's a
of
good question.
speaking of tournaments, guys, what do you plan on doing this weekend? Is there anything you challenge yourself with?
Yeah. So there's a standard showcase challenge and legacy showcase challenge, which I do not have deck for yet, but let's say I'm considering bringing the Cephalid back.
Oh, I was gonna suggest that
Nice.
for fun.
Yeah.
What's that?
We got to do it then.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything about Legacy. I don't even know like maybe the new. I don't even know what new cards are. The new cards in the format or something.
Yeah, Orcish Masters, the cards were pretty good on Legacy. So I just
Oh.
last weekend challenge
Oh
was
wow, that's way
won
better.
by
Yeah.
the GX Cloud, the Death and Taxes Master.
Different taxes one, yeah.
So I copied the deck list and I just played the league, and I was like, this deck is basically my Cephalid version. Like it just shares like 60, 70 cards or whatever. Like it's just like the same deck as Cephalid without cantrips. So I might just play Cephalid without cantrips. Just shove the combo
Yeah.
into the deck, because I played the deck and I was like, well, I already know how to play this deck because I am doing the same kind of Jorion recruiter things, Vial, Mystic. Like this is the same game, the same kind of deck. So I wanna try Cephalid this. Otherwise, I will probably play Shadow or Mango Bullbug deck or whatever.
When I played because in my week in Croatia we brought 4 legacy decks and one of them was a black-white deck, which won a challenge before we left, and it didn't have Yorion, and I felt like this deck should really have Yorion. Like Yorion is so good in this deck, so I see HJ Cloud add the Yorion, and the synergy between Recruiter of the Guard and Orcish Bowmaster was insane. Like anytime I had Recruiter and the Violent too, I just get orc, and like this deck has more orcs because of course you can also like flicker it or Yorion it. Yeah, this deck is solid. This deck is definitely good. I feel like the metagame is kind of like the classic legacy metagame right now, where you have the combo decks that lose to the Grixis slash blue black scam deck. Those one lose to the Death and Taxes deck, which lose to the combo deck, and it's kind of like the classic legacy LFP metagame, which we have seen for a while, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I want to try to mix this with the combo approach, which is valid, but I don't know. I'm kind of playing a little bit less these days, try to save up energy for Worlds, but I just like building decks, so I'm gonna try to build it.
Yeah, while we are at the legacy talk, I also want to mention on the podcast that yesterday before going live. I guess I also trophied.
I want to
So,
ask
I
you,
got
like, how?
3 trophies in a row.
Why is Grief so good in
With
this deck, Mango?
Why is Grief good in this deck? It's for the combo matchup. Like you just improve your combo matchup. Like you just go turn 1 Ponder Grief, and then you just eventually find a reanimate, even if it's on turn 2 with a brainstorm and such, and you just discarded 2 cards. I think that it's like a force of will, but obviously it's worse, but it's like a force of will, and it just makes your combo matchup much better, as well as of course you have more nuts, draw off, grief, reanimate
Okay.
on turn 1.
Okay. So
I think that I think just basically just going like turn 1 ponder, seeing a reanimate, and then going grief, and then turn 2 reanimate. It's still like if you don't have grief, sure you have like maybe a reanimate troll along like on turn 3 or whatever, but your opponent's blink magic, whereas just a double grief on turn 2 will stop them. I think also turn 1 is important. Sometimes I was holding it, but I think it's important to cast it on turn 1.
Okay, I might play this actually because it's like a shadow deck. No shadow, but also plays like it just like shadow or grief. Like I have to play one of these 2 cards, and I don't know which one is better because the deck is the same. So
yeah, in my week in Croatia, me and one of the friends that was playing a lot of Legacy with me. We kind of improved the deck a lot. We made our plans that I shared in the Discord of the Carnies, which we haven't mentioned up until now. Patreon.com/Carnies, and you can join the Discord where we talk about things such as this Legacy Blue Black scam, and I shared my Sideboard plan over there. It's definitely something that I like to chat, and you're welcome to do that with any deck, honestly. That is your platform to ask us question directly. Of course, I also have a stream, but Javier and Anthony don't. And if you join the Carnies Discord, you can ask, "What did you eat for lunch, Javier?" You can ask that question.
oh, you want to know the answer?
Arroz? No.
No, you know what a cocido is?
Cocida, sí.
Cocido, like it's meat, like how do you say
yeah,
garbanzos?
cocido. It's like a stew. It's a stew.
Like not stew. Like how
No.
do you say the peachicks? I think
Chickpeas?
Oh,
chickpeas. Yeah,
chickpeas.
so it's like chickpeas, different meats, jamon bones. Like some vegetables, just in a big pole, and just it's very very it's mama
Sounds
special. That's what. Yeah, it was very good.
Croqueta de cochido.
Yeah, exactly. But the cochido, see, no the croqueta.
Yeah. strong flavor, strong flavor.
Exactly.
Anyway, we did the classic. Barely remembered at the end of the podcast. A shout out to the Patreon. Thank you so much if you joined the Patreon. And for standard, of course, Anthony and Javier will be taking a break because they're practicing a lot for Worlds. Of course, we haven't mentioned it yet, but there is the Player of the Year race where Javier is leading the field. Let me get the official tweet by Wizards about it. For those of you who don't know, Player of the Year is a title that used to be a thing every year. At the end of the year, the player with the most pro points was awarded the title of Player of the Year, and they bring it back. And right now, Javier is leading of 1 point over Nathan Stoyer. And of course, the Worlds will be the last event of the year, so it's going to be cool to see how it unfolds.
And that's just ahead of Simon, right?
Yeah, ahead of Simon. Simon's third, also quite close, I think.
Simon is third.
Yeah, so very close.
Yeah, you were the last Player of the Year in 2019. With the MPL. I don't know if they actually made it into Player of the Year, but you definitely finished 50 points over the second one.
50
it was ridiculous.
Point.
Like if he had like 05 the last Pro Tour, he would have won. But then he also won that Pro Tour, so Mythic Championship, whatever it's called. So that was quite decisive. But I think he'll be okay with the closer win this time.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen this time, but I'll try. I mean,
why not? Why not? If you win,
yeah. I mean, I am definitely. I'm
again.
not favored to win, I think, but I think it cool. Like obviously, like.
How can you not be favored to win if you're on top of the leaderboard?
Well, because I don't have more than 50% to win. Like.
Oh, you mean a favorite? Oh, okay. You mean favorite as in like favorite?
Yeah,
favorite
like,
in terms of winning versus not winning.
I might have like a 30%, 20%. I don't know.
Yeah. I thought you meant favorite as in like the most likely out of.
No,
like
I'm
a
saying like I
plurality
am
system.
more
Okay, I
likely
understand.
to not.
Yep.
Yeah, no. I mean like I am more likely to not win than I am to win, even if I'm
Yes.
first. So I will be like
Yeah.
20%, 30%. I don't know what it is, but like probably something like this. Assuming like similar win rates. I think all of these 5 players, they're in the top or whatever. I guess it's harder for. It's probably going to be me, Nathan, Simon, or Reed, unless we all do bad and someone else wins or something like this. But even assuming we have all similar win rates, it's like 20% or whatever. Yeah, I don't think I have more than that, 20-25%. So, obviously if I win it will be cool. The biggest prize here will be like, I could just be like, hey, Nathan, hey. Because it was like how all these jokes were, Nathan was impossible to catch or whatever. And I was saying him I will try to catch, and I eventually catch him. So, I have to catch him as much as I can before I'm too old to do it. So I'm just
I was
trying to
I
use my
desperately
energies.
was I desperately was looking for the screenshot about the top of that 2019 year just to humble brag that I was second, but I didn't find it.
Uh,
That's okay.
yeah.
So
No, but Marcia
I
in the
just
second,
mentioned
right?
it.
At the end? I think you were the third.
Oh, surprise.
No, I think I was a second me and then Marcy third, but it's okay.
I
It's
don't know.
like
If you
it's
say, if someone says Marcio was second, I'm just gonna believe them. So Marcio was second.
No, he was second for real. I was 50%, 50 points
Did you see
second.
that? Did you see that
Damn.
Marcy's second in the constructed master race?
I saw it, yeah. Like they did the
Yeah.
limited master and the consulted master, and yeah, master
Yeah,
second.
that's a very nice stats. Let me dig it for it. They also shared another stats about the draws. Yeah, I'm putting it here because it's from AJLV on Twitter. You have the Elo thing where Javier is leading under Simon in the Sea. That's very cool. And then there's the constructed race with Javier leading, then Marcio.
Of
There's
course.
the draft race where Javier is second in the draft
I'm
race.
double
That's
racing.
very yeah, that's very funny. That's very funny. And also, they tagged me saying that I end my streak of unintentional draws after 673 matches, which I didn't know about. And Javier is still there, and you have 823 matches without draws.
I mean, at some point I'm gonna get a draw. We actually have discussed this in the team a few times. Like, I think draws are most often like super incorrect. But at some point there must be situations where a draw is just not going to happen. I still remember my last draw. It was Mastery of the Unseen mirror match, so it was impossible to finish. But yeah, I mean, I'm ready to get a draw. I think I'm gonna have a draw eventually because the way the game works, sometimes you're gonna play a game that's long enough to have a draw. I also tend to play proactive decks, so obviously my deck selection doesn't help too much. But like, yeah, I mean, it's gonna happen. I think it's just luck in a way. I mean, obviously, like I'm playing fast or whatever sometimes, but like it's just luck that I didn't have a match that was supposed to be a draw, like by so much that no amount of speed playing could have solved it. Like, some games, right? Like you play like these two games, you win 2-0, and it's like 4 minutes left or whatever. If it was 1-1, it would be a draw. I had some of these in my life, so it was a matter of like, maybe losing 2-0, but the same thing.
It makes me so happy to see Pivo and in this rankings. Like
Pretty great.
third in the constructed master race when he even conceded one of the matches to Kalk. So he could have been at least second with a draw and first tied with you. Not tied with you because you have way less losses than everybody else, but still,
5
it's definitely
losses?
super.
Oh,
Yeah,
true.
you have only 5 losses because you got like you locked the top 8.
Yeah.
You,
I just
you know,
like that's. If you ask me, I will never say this. Like that's how wild swings can be in Magic. Like for real. Like it's not like I could not go 0-3 in one of these tournaments. It could have happened. It just like the sample size is so small that for like you can just like go there and just go 0-5. It
yeah, you could,
could
but
happen
you
once.
didn't.
I know. What I'm saying, like, no, I'm just saying because obviously I think I've been working a lot. Like Anthony knows how much. I think I'm working a lot this year or whatever. But that doesn't mean I could
You
have.
mean you worked out? You mean
Yeah.
you worked out? No,
No, I mean like like
tested.
tested a lot. Yeah, like we
Yeah.
we
Okay.
tried a lot, and I think
Yeah.
we all had. I think we had very good decks every time, but like some of the teammates also played as well and had a deck as good, and they just like I think Nate won 0-5 since day 2 in the Barcelona PT.
Yeah.
This could be me in Worlds or whatever. So all these races, I think they're just a matter of who got lucky enough that they didn't go and bust one tournament. I will say that's my impression in a way. This is not like a 200 match race where it's.
Well, there is a way to fight that. If you play a skill deck, you will get unlucky less than if you play a luck deck. That's okay. I wanted to finish the podcast with this joke.
It's a good one. I fully approve it.
Yeah, I also agree it's a joke. Yep.
It's a good.
All right, guys.
Joke. Okay.
Yeah, let's end this.
I think we're good to go. Yeah.
We're good to go. Thank you everybody for listening. Again, as always, we have the patreon.com/carnies or on Twitter if you want to interact with us. We're there. Yeah.
Feedback can be thrown at Mingo09, especially if it's bad feedback. You can just tweet at him. That's the classic. Good feedback can be in the Discord. Yeah. And yeah, again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Correct?
Yeah, cheers.
Yes.
All right. Bye-bye.
Cheers.